This begin our meeting. This is the Historic Preservation Commission meeting on June 12th, 2023. All the commissioners are here except for Juan Rodriguez. And the staff that is here is Levi Hill, Fernando Rivera, Christy Sabdo, and Spencer Argan-Bright. Okay.
And I'll just explain to the public how to participate. Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
Okay, thank you. So I don't have my notes. The first order of the agenda is to approve the consent items. Oh, no, it's to open up. Sorry. I don't have my notes. Is to open up the for public comments for any item that is not on the agenda. And is there anyone who would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? Anybody online?
There are no attendees online with their hands raised.
Okay.
Linda, need to do roll call in the minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Or did I jump ahead?
At least roll.
Do I need to do a roll call?
You did
think you
announce
did.
the members present and the staff as well.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
So the next item is the consent agenda items, which is the minutes. And any comments on the minutes that need to be changed or anything?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of May 8th.
I second it, and I wanted to thank you for including my remark about detail. I appreciate that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried. So the first item on the public hearing is to consider 287 Monroe Street to remove the property from the lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey. The applicant is Duke Kelso and the property owner is Rebecca Abundis. And does staff have a report?
Yes, thank you. My name is Christy Sabdo, Principal Planner with the City of Monterey. I'll be presenting 287 Monroe Street, Historic Permit Application HP 240256. Remove the property from the lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey. Staff is recommending that the Historic Preservation Commission adopt a resolution approving the application to remove 287 Monroe Street from the lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey. The property is a double frontage lot along Monroe Street, which is the primary street, and also Eddie Burns Lane. The general plan designation is medium density residential, zoning is R3, and it's in the Old Town neighborhood. So the Monroe Street frontage contains a Mission Revival style residence constructed circa 1930. It's wood framed, square in plan, and flat roofed. The exterior wall cladding is cement stucco with a parapeted roof line. The front elevation of the roof line has a flattened arch capped by a small shed roof line. The original clay tiling has been lost. The residence was converted to a duplex in 1985. There was an addition of a one-story flat-roofed mid-century modern addition at the rear elevation along Eddie Burns Lane. Here's a few pictures. According to architectural historian Kent CV, this bedroom addition could explain in part why the essentially small home has exterior eave wall chimneys on two side elevations of the stucco-clad portion of the building envelope, one stucco-clad and the other probably earlier built of Carmel stone. Sometime prior to 2002, all of the original fenestration on the 1930s building envelope was changed from wood to vinyl cladding on the front elevation and 1-to-1 double hung and casement type windows on the other exterior elevations. The property is listed in the lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey as 5S3, meaning appears to be eligible for local listing or designation through survey evaluation. In order to be eligible for listing in the local, state, or national registers, properties must be significant under at least one of the following criteria: events, patterns, and trends, person, design, construction, and information potential. In order to be eligible for listing in the local, state, or national historic register, a property must retain sufficient integrity to convey whatever historic significance it may possess. A property that has sufficient integrity will retain a majority of the character-defining features of the style of the residence identified. In general, a property that has sufficient integrity will retain a majority of the 7 aspects of integrity. Integrity is defined as the ability of a property to convey its significance. Generally, integrity is only evaluated if a property has been determined to be significant. I'm going to go through the 4 criteria. So criterion 1, events, patterns, and trends. Relative to period events, patterns, and trends associated with the subject property, because of their general broad relationship with Monterey's development over the period, the property lacks any meaningful relationship to these factors. Overall, no event of significance to the nation, state, or region has been identified with the existing property. That criteria is not met. Criterion 2, person. While the property was constructed in 1930, the property does not appear in the Polk business directories until 1933. The original owner was Mr. Andrew W. Brown, a local automobile salesman. No architect or builder is identified. The subsequent owner, Mr. Charles Brown, was a Monterey police constable. The intensive survey concludes that no individual of significance has been identified with the existing property, and the criteria is not met. Criterion 3, design and construction. Kent Seavey explains in the intensive survey that the original design of the residence as an example of mission revival style of architecture occurred midway through a period of municipal growth in the late 1920s and early Depression years of the 1930s. Numerous similar types of small Spanish eclectic period homes were constructed throughout the period prior to World War II, far better and more historically intact than the subject property. The character-defining features of this now single-family residence with a duplex addition are worlds apart from a public street front perspective. The 1930 Mission Revival component facing Monroe Street is missing its tile entry roof and has lost its original wood windows to vinyl fenestration at odds with its historic design. The 1985 permitted duplex added to its rear elevation essentially doubles the size of the original 1930s building envelope. The duplex component faces Eddie Burns Lane with a completely different design character than the original Monroe Street elevation, with a flat-roofed, horizontally wood-clad mid-century modern appearance. The only connecting design feature is the non-historic vinyl-clad fenestration on both building components. This criteria is not met. Criterion 4 is that 287 Monroe Street is not eligible under this criteria, as there is no evidence in the historical record that the site or building may be likely to yield important information to prehistory or history. The criteria is not met. Integrity is defined as the ability of a property to convey its significance. Generally, integrity is only evaluated if a property has been determined to be significant, and 287 Monroe Street does not meet any of the criteria for significance on the federal, state, or local levels. However, Kent Seavey did mention under integrity that the residence is a mixture of altered 1920s stucco-clad Mission Revival design and pedestrian example of 1985 horizontal wood-clad, flat-roofed modern configuration, and the complete circa 2002 vinyl-clad fenestration of the connected building types does little to unify the subject property. There is no apparent concern for unity of design, materials, or workmanship of this curious composition, rather than any sense of time and place and feeling and association with its neighborhood setting. Its remodeling over time has considerably altered and obscured significant character-defining features of the ensemble. The collective changes execute over time go against the key tenet of historic preservation. So let's see, I think I'm going to skip through this. Overall, lacking both historic significance and physical integrity, the subject property does not meet the necessary criterion for listing in the National or California Registers of Historic Resources, nor does it meet the criterion established by the City of Monterey to qualify for inclusion in the Monterey Historic Resource Inventory. And therefore, the property is also not a historic resource as defined by CEQA. Staff recommends the Historic Historic Preservation Commission adopt a resolution approving the application to remove 287 Monroe Street, the lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey. Staff is available for questions. The applicant and Kent CV, architectural historian, is available for questions.
And just real quickly, I'm going to add as a procedural note that Commissioner Smith Crivello has noted that she lives within 500 feet of the subject property, so she will not be participating in the deliberation or the vote for this item.
All right. Do we have any questions? Let's start down on this end. Any questions?
Of staff, no.
Of staff.
I don't have any questions of staff.
Okay. Any questions down here?
Good.
Staff?
Should I
Okay, thank
step
you.
out for the vote? Okay. Okay.
So, do we have, the applicant, would the applicant like to say anything, answer questions? Are there any questions for the applicant before we have them come up?
I mean, it might be helpful if we all ask a question. I thought there might be a presentation or kind of a thought from the applicant side. Before we deliberate, it would be helpful to maybe expand a bit on the differentiation definition. And if you could do that.
Yeah.
And how that, we've seen the similar argument, I think, on the flip side of needing additions roughly 50% in size, differentiated, and that being consistent with the secretary criteria.
Differentiation is reasonable, but the differentiation has to maintain the character defining features of the original house, the existing property. It has to be consistent with that character. The differentiation can be a small porch or something, and today they do allow the window issue, but in this instance, vinyl windows in that thing yell at you. If we did not have a proliferation of that building type, a little boxy, stuccoed Spanish revival or Mexican revival, we might think about this one a little more, but you're confused. And of course, if the backyard abutted nothing, nobody would really see that rear addition from time to time. But if you're looking for that address and somehow you get on the wrong street, you're going to never find that other house because you have two entirely different periods of significance in that, the 50s, 1950s and the 1930s. So there's no connection historically between the two, except at some point in time and space, somebody before the historic preservation program began in town, just extended an added bedroom with the same material off the back of it and made it a duplex. Does that help? The idea of differentiation of the old and the new is to be able to clearly recognize what is new. What is old and what is new, but to try to retain as much as possible the character of the building. To my knowledge, the people who are going to do the work on it are simply going to, that front stuccoed property will probably look a little better than it does now, but back more closely to its original. But the damage has been done, and that's the whole deal. Do no harm.
Do we know why the applicant wants to delist this property?
I don't understand. Do you know why they wanted to list the property, or if they were listing the property?
I think it's just a personal preference. She didn't feel like it was of significant value to be on the list.
So that's the approach that was taken.
Any other questions for Mr. CV?
Yeah, just a question whether the owner has any remodel or, reconstruction plans for the property?
You'd have to ask the architect.
Can
Can you state your name, please?
Hello, my name is Duke Kelso, the contractor. She plans on keeping everything within the original building envelope. She just plans on putting a couple French doors off the backside and extending the deck, kind of reworking the one that's there. But other than that, I think she potentially wanted to rework the front entrance, but keep to the same aesthetic as the existing. So yeah, she doesn't want to add another story or anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'd like to open it. Thank you. open it up to public comments. Anybody in the audience would like to talk? Public comments? Anyone online?
There are no attendees online.
Okay, I'm closing public comments. Now we'll open up to the committee comments. Who would like to start? Anybody?
Go ahead.
Okay,
You
I'll
have the
just
pro.
say that I do feel that the windows being vinyl is almost immaterial here because I don't find those as permanent changes. Those could be replaced, those could be put back to wood. Frankly, almost every house on that segment of street has been changed out to vinyl. I think I only saw two or three original houses. As far as the addition being consistent or compatible, I mean, thank you, Kent, for that explanation. It's not visible really from the street. In some ways it could be compatible because they kept it at a single story. And there is some material differentiation, but the only thing I would think I would have liked to have seen in the report that I'm not going to ask for, but it was just a statement that there are many other houses, single story box houses that are in far better condition. I mean, could be an exhaustive survey that, I don't think we're asking for here, but to make those kind of statements, I would typically like to see that substantiated or backed up a little bit.
Okay, Kathy, do you have anything?
I agree with Julie. I don't have anything to add to that.
And I agree with Julie too. There are a number of houses on that street that are better role models, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
of so anyway, I agree with Julie and Carol.
When I looked at this, it looked to me like it was a box with a little thing on the front that wasn't even real. I mean, it was just a kind of a facade. The roof line went up and the little porch thing. So there are way better houses that have the Spanish Revival. I've said before, I drive through Oak Grove all the time, and there are
Oh, yeah.
plethora of them there. So yeah, this isn't the best example even of the what's the word
The
for
mission?
no, the
Spanish mission.
not even the ordinary man's house.
Mhm.
It's just kind of, it's neither here nor there. It's maybe, and I also look at it as if we don't delist it, is this something we would list?
Yeah.
Not sure it's all that precious. So, thank you.
Yeah.
William?
Well, I think as long as the owner is going to keep it within the scale and character of the neighborhood, I think we should give her the option to do it without having to jump through historical hoops.
Okay.
For the same reasons everybody stated that.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move that we accept staff's recommendation to take 287 Monroe Street off the potentially historic Lower Old Town Reconnaissance Survey.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
I abstain.
and, okay, Geraldine abstains, and the motion has been approved or has passed. And if anyone who would like to appeal this, you have 10 days to do that.
Forms available
wanna
online
say
and
it
in the
better?
planning office.
What's that?
The forms for appealing that are available online and in the planning office.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so thank you. It's been delisted. And next is opening up to commissioner comments about anything.
I'll mention that Point Sur is having our annual open house living history on August 3rd. August 3rd. It's a chance to go up to have transportation to the top of the rock. You don't have to drive. And we'll have people in costume and all kinds of kid events and chocolate chip cookies.
August.
August 3rd. And hot, fresh chocolate chip cookies out of the oven. Not just,
Important distinction.
well, there is. It really smells good in that. But we're all kinds of demonstrations, and if the weather's good, it's glorious. If the weather's not so good, wear a jacket.
Carol,
Yes.
Forgive me not remembering the exact title of the building next to Point Sur that you and John are very involved with. Will it be open that day?
The
too?
naval.
The naval.
facility- No, we are doing an open house on Labor Day weekend.
On oh, you're
Yeah.
doing that different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Same kind of thing, except no transportation, because you can just walk around.
Oh, yeah.
Flat,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's easy.
Any other commission comments? Yes, Geraldine.
Yes, about a week and a half ago, we received communication about some proposed changes in the structures of the commissions to do with the library and history elements of Monterey, and our commission that, is about historic preservation. And I went to the meeting, and of course, we didn't get to that point. Several of us were there. They had another report. It took almost all of the 2 hours of time. And
Yeah.
finally, at the end, they seemed to be a little bit embarrassed that they didn't address it, because most of the people in the audience were more interested in that item than in the earlier item. But there was some discussion about postponing it. They didn't come to a conclusion before the end of the meeting. They discussed the date next week, but I don't know if it's on the agenda. I've been doing a little bit of research, talking to members of the other commission. It used to be a committee, but it is a commission right now. And they're kind of several of them, not all of them, wasn't a committee decision, but we know that there used to be a person in charge of the library and a person in charge of the museums and historic, I forget what they called it, but there were two different people in positions prior to COVID. And through COVID, people retired, and one person was chosen, Brian, and he has both of those areas that he works with, both the library, which is a pretty big unit, in itself, plus all of the other things. This could be adding a whole nother responsibility to him, or perhaps somebody in the planning is going to take over library and museums. I don't know. We haven't seen a proposal of what it would look like and how they would consider commission members for both commissions, how they would merge them, if we would just attrition out as our terms ended, or if we would somehow some decision for drawing straws or something just to stay on. And I think it would be nice to see if there's any other development of the plan. And so I did go to the office a couple of days ago and talked to Levi, and he said, well, he'd see if there was any further information. So I'd like to ask him to see if he was able to find out any more about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that. I think that as far as new information goes, I don't have any new information as far as what was included in the agenda report at the last meeting. As far as time frame goes, I can report that today the agenda did publish for Tuesday's council meeting, and this item is agendized for the evening session. So that's evening starting at 7:00 p.m. So it is agendized to be discussed at Tuesday's city council meeting, and that's going to be Tuesday, June 17th. So that has been agendized. To respond to some of your comments, Commissioner Smith-Corbella, I agree. There is probably more questions than there are answers right now. I think the intent of the item is it's kind of a two-part conversation. It's first part is to discuss, for the council to discuss if they want to make changes to how appointments are made to commissions and committees. I think you're all familiar with the current process and the mayor selection process. And I think that's the first part, is to evaluate that and discuss amongst the council if they want to make changes to that and make perhaps a more council at large appointment rather than a mayoral appointment. So that's the first part. And then I think the other part of that conversation is going to be whether or not it makes sense to consolidate the roles and responsibilities of some of our commissions and committees. As you will see in the report, there's not a lot of detail as to how that would be executed. And I think that the purpose of the item is for there to be an initial conversation with the council and to kind of see if there is an appetite amongst the council for either one of those changes. So unfortunately, I have a lot of the same questions that you all do. What does that mean? How would that actually be executed if there was a consolidation, and how would the appointment process go? And unfortunately, I don't have that information at this time, but I think that the conversation on Tuesday at the council will yield a lot more information at that point. And of course, you're all encouraged to participate in that. And that is a public appearance item, so they will be taking public comment. I think your input is very valuable on this item.
There has to be, I think it's for certified local government. Don't we have to have a certain mix of qualified commissioners?
There are qualifications for the makeup of this commission to maintain our status as a certified local government. You're correct. And that
Council knows that.
I'm not sure that they do understand the specifics. And I think that's a important part of that conversation that'll happen Tuesday is for them to, if they don't already know, learn a lot about the different qualifications that make up our commissions, whether that be our planning commission or our architectural review committee and this commission, and understanding the qualifications and the steps that you all take to maintain your qualifications and status of that certified local government.
Thank you.
Of course.
Does the other commission that they're talking about combining us with fall under your purview currently?
They do not currently. And so that is kind of a question mark to it, as they actually have quite different purviews and what they consider. So whether that would be it would be a large addition of responsibility and purview for either group, whether they're respond to museum and cultural arts responsibilities were rolled into this group's purview, then that would be a big change in addition to what you guys are used to seeing, and vice versa. So right now, they are not under planning at all.
All right, any other questions about that? Comments?
I have a question. So if we were to merge the criteria and the responsibilities would continue because of Mills Act, and for the group, whatever group it would be, and were they going to ask staff what those are? Would that be something that may happen?
Yeah, I think they will eventually, if there is an appetite for consolidation. And I think that's kind of the big question mark. I don't know that there is. We don't really know at this point in time because the council really hasn't publicly discussed this item. So there could be, zero interest amongst the council to consolidate boards and commissions, and therefore this wouldn't really be worth looking into any further. So staff hasn't been consulted, at least planning staff has not been consulted on those matters at this time, but it would be I would definitely expect that if there was an appetite for consolidation of this board, obviously we would, as staff, point out the qualifications that would be expected of whoever is now sitting on that commission, at least in the interest of maintaining our certified local government status. That there are very firm legal requirements for what the commission has to be qualified for.
I did speak to two of the long-term members who were just very challenged by the idea of absorbing a whole nother group for in their group. They think they have a lot on their plate because they have just merged, not too many years ago, the library and the.
We used to
District
have a
Park.
historian and a museum.
Yes.
Tim Conway was the historian, and they got rid of and he also died. Got rid of the history bit, and then the museum, and now it just seems to all be falling on the library. I just have one quick question that maybe you know or don't know. How many of the city council besides the mayor have sat on commissions or committees? So the mayor was on with you on ARC.
Yeah, that is a good question. I actually do not have the answer to that.
I'm sure I could research it and find it.
Yeah, and I can check with our city clerk and also get that information for you before Tuesday.
About six years ago, maybe Carol and I were on, I don't think anybody else was. We used to have a pattern of the two commissions working together on one of the agendas, and we actually met together. Do you remember that?
We've met with ARC many times, and I don't know that we've ever met with the museum and cultural.
I don't think so, but ARC.
ARC we met with, just cut out a lot of, which worked, actually.
ARC has more in common with historic preservation than museums. I think maybe they picked up on history involved in the history of Monterey and historic preservation, and maybe they're going with that without thinking through the other parts of it.
Don't put that in the minutes.
I'm not sure. I won't be there, but maybe I'll listen online if I can.
Yeah, and of course, you're welcome to submit a written comment ahead of time if you're unable to attend the meeting. So I think that's also helpful if anyone wants to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a staff report?
Sure. So currently there's no tentative items scheduled for the July 10th HBC meeting. I will note that pending Tuesday's conversation, we are hitting that time of year where we typically do chair and vice chair rotations. It's not been agendized yet because I'm kind of waiting to see how that plays out, that conversation on Tuesday. But there is a good chance that no action will be taken Tuesday. It'll likely just be conversation and direction provided from the council. But so there's a good chance that we will be placing the chair and vice chair rotation on the next agenda. Aside from that, there are, as noted in the agenda packet, there's a number of upcoming historical and cultural events, starting with the free art and literature tours that I believe started today and run through June 14th at 12:30. We also have Community Craft Day at the Monterey State Historic Park on Saturday, June 14th at 11 a.m. And the Monterey Museum of Art free admission Sundays through August 31st, 2025.
That's great, by the way. For families.
It is.
I have. We had a really outstanding celebration of Monterey's birthday at the Merienda. And Dr. Barber represented the city council because the mayor was traveling to representing the city in Sicily, I heard. And about 400 people came, and we had good representation of military and assembly people and other representatives in various roles around the city that participated in the barbecue and at the head table. And we hope next time some of you'll go. Julie was a hostess for the first time, and Kathy was there in terms of people on our committee. Some of you maybe have been there other times, and it was a beautiful day, and we had a wonderful time together.
And wonderful entertainment, and several have told us, Cheryl and myself, they felt it was the best one they've attended. So I think it's because of so much great entertainment. I mean, besides the food, of course, that's always good, but there was more entertainment this year. So I think they really liked that.
All right. Anything else? I am going to adjourn at 4:35.